Hi there, I'm Matt with State of Flex, here with a review for Venom, Let There Be Carnage. This is the second in the Sony universe of Spider-Man characters. The first film was Venom, and I was rather cold to that film. I'd give it about 2 stars out of 4. I think ultimately you have a movie that was made with conflicting tones, that was heavily reliant on a really dynamic performance from Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock in Venom, and his performance and commitment to said performance was really kind of inspiring, but it had a weak screenplay, and it didn't feel like Venom in the comic book world. Eddie Brock may be a loser, but he's not cognizant of it. And that, I think, is kind of, until well after he's become Venom, anyway. And I think that was kind of my big hang-up. They focused so much on Eddie Brock, the loser, and Venom, the loser symbiote, that it kind of lost me there. And the ties to Spider-Man are so integral to what makes Venom work as a character, even when you divorce him from Spider-Man. That connective tissue is really, really important, and without any of that there, it didn't really work for me. But what I did like, as I say, is that dynamic performance from Tom Hardy. And even though it didn't play for me, the fact that there was deconstruction of the character of Eddie Brock in Venom that almost made the movie work. That's a movie that's almost. It's an excavated skeleton, and I was disappointed. But with the post-credit tease for Carnage in the second one, played by Woody Harrelson, I was interested and was convinced that they'd make a movie that's better than the first one. And this movie really doubles down on the weirdness of the first movie, and leans into the comedy. However, none of it lands. Absolutely none of it. If Venom is Batman Forever, another movie that's almost good but just doesn't quite make it there, that also deconstructs the main character in a way that we hadn't seen presently done, that just almost works but falls just short of any real quality, then Venom Let There Be Carnage is Batman and Robin, where all the things that almost made the first movie work are amped up to an obnoxious level, and the obnoxiousness is just so overpowering that it smothers the life out of this movie. And that is absolutely a shame. This movie is just straight bonkers and also straight garbage. It takes 20 minutes, there's a 20-minute intro where you learn about the backstory of who Cletus Cassidy is, and they kind of even neuter that character. That character is a blatant ripoff of the Joker. Everybody knows it, and this movie should have leaned into that. The one thing that Marvel doesn't have on any incarnation is a Joker-like figure. This is their chance to do that. And they kind of neuter that character by really trying to make a natural-born killers thing happen with the character of Shriek, who's there only to be a damsel in distress to Cletus Cassidy, which is a complete shame for her character comic book-wise, and a complete waste of a movie. And not unlike Batman and Robin, your 2 main villains, Shriek and Carnage, are in conflict. Her main weapon of choice is her voice, which is so overpowering. What's the one thing that destroys Carnage? Sound. So, it's the same thing as, you have Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy who want to rule the world. One is going to make the world a frosty paradise, or hell or whatever, and the other one wants to make it a rainforest. These 2 stories characters don't mesh in any way, and the movie forces them together. This is the same exact scenario. So, like, yeah. And it has a lot of the same problems that, like, the Amazing Spider-Man movies had. Especially Amazing Spider-Man 2. At one point, you even have a shot that's strikingly similar, where you have another damsel in distress character falling from great heights, while the hero character swooping down to try and catch them before they hit the moment of impact or whatever. Anyway, Tom Hardy's performance is still committed, but when you have a guy who, like, the movie leans into the humor, and the only source of humor is the other guy, the Venom character, and all of his jokes are told like this. It's not funny. It's obnoxious. It's loud. It's overbearing, and I just wanted it to end. And then you have Woody Harrelson, who's phoning it in. Like, Woody Harrelson's great. He's dynamic in every movie that you ever watch him in. And, like, I guess you can make a case that that's him in this, but he's really just phoning it in. That said, the first 20 minutes are set up so you can understand the whole Cletus Cassidy storyline and how he integrates into the Eddie Brock one, and they try to tell you that their relationship is something very different than ultimately we are ever shown. And yeah, they try to make an emotional, poignant moment towards the end about these two characters, and it falls flat. Absolutely just like a turd in the wind. That's still one of the stupidest lines ever, am I right? Anyway, this movie is just, I can't stress how very, very bad it is. For a movie called Let There Be Carnage, Carnage is hardly in the movie. Like, Cletus Cassidy runs, but it's probably about a half an hour. This movie's 90 minutes. A full half hour before he even becomes Carnage. And Carnage and Venom only square off once in the entire movie. And so that last 30 minutes of the movie, which is one great big battle, is pretty epic, but by the point that you get there, you are so not invested in anything happening on screen that it's just mind-numbing. The mind-numbing spectacle. And the whole middle act has Venom separating from Eddie Brock because the two are having, like, a feud, and so the one interesting aspect from the first film is divorced from each other as they're, like, separate. They go their separate ways until they're forced to come together due to Carnage. And Venom being on his own and partying it up at a rave and stuff is just dumb, and it's not funny, and it does nothing to build or expand his character. This movie is a waste of space. To say I hated it is like falling short of my actual feelings. And that's all I guess I'm going to tell you. This is infinitely worse than the first movie. I'm being generous and giving it 1 star, but I'll give it 1 star because I do think... I don't even know why I'm giving it 1 star. It doesn't deserve 1 star. This is a half-star movie. I have nothing good to say about it outside of the things that worked in the first one are also present here. So why not just watch the first one? Yeah, this movie is just... This is a half-star movie. I'm gonna say it. Worse now than even the 2 Zack Snyder movies that I was not a fan of this year. This is it. This is the worst movie of the year. I'm gonna enter into spoiler territory for the next 2 to 3 minutes, so stop here. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Venom, Just Let This Stop is my alternative take on that title. A half a star from me. Spoilers now, so if you don't want spoilers, stop the movie. This movie does 2 egregious things. First, number 1, Carnage is such an integral character to the Venom mythos, but also to Spider-Man to some extent, and I already said they kind of wasted his utilization in this movie as to creating a Joker-like character. They also effing kill him. Blithely, I might add. Like, when he dies, it's so not earned and happens almost off screen. I know it's because of probably like an R-rated thing. He gets his head bitten off. But, like, what a waste. This whole movie was a waste. Like, I felt Riot was a more earned villain in the first movie, and congratulations if you remember that character's name was Riot. I had to look it up. Riot was a more earned villain than Carnage was in this. It's ridiculous. The other egregious thing, there's a post-credits scene in this movie where Eddie Brock and Venom are happily vacationing and they're watching telenovelas on their TV when suddenly the world shifts around them, right, as I might add, when Venom is about to extrapolate on his home world. So the first time we're ever given any character work for the Venom character in this movie is in the post-credits scene, and it gets shunted because the world suddenly shifts. Their whole surroundings suddenly look different, and this TV, what's playing on the TV has changed. And Eddie and Venom start looking at the TV, and it's J. Jonah Jameson saying, "This man's a menace," and doing that whole shtick, and you see a picture of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and then Venom goes up and he licks the frame, tying these two worlds together. Now, if you've watched my, what to look forward to in the forthcoming couple of months movie-wise, I do talk about Spider-Man No Way Home, a movie that I am looking forward to with a great concern that I feel like this is Tom Holland's exit from the MCU. This movie kind of all but confirms that. There's no way that they're ever tying Venom in, the Venom incarnated in this film, into the MCU. This is a dude that says the F-bomb, that just doesn't play. The only character he could ever bounce off of is Deadpool, and that level of obnoxiousness would never work. I say that now. If you can pull it off, more power to you, Marvel. But anyway, this all but confirms that Holland's out of the MCU, and he's just going to be integrated into the Sony world of Spider-Man characters. And Tom Holland and this Venom, as we have seen, will not coalesce. This is like oil and water. This isn't going to work as a movie as we've established that character in the MCU or this character in Venom. Like, I guarantee you Spider-Man 4 or Venom 3 is going to be called Spider-Man vs. Venom, or Venom vs. Spider-Man. And that's the next movie that we get. And that's going to be a shame because I don't see that happening. If you wanted to integrate these characters, and if you are making a multiverse, and if you are bringing Andrew Garfield back into it, this Venom belongs in Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man universe. Those characters and the way that they're presented, where really in the Andrew Garfield universe there's no likable characters. Everybody's doing unlikable things. Your Spider-Man character, who is funny, he is funny, is not likable. He's an asshole. He makes a promise to a dying man that he's not gonna be with his daughter, and immediately gives that up before the end of that film, and commits to being with her. This character's just kind of an asshole. And Eddie Brock, the loser, is also kind of an asshole. And Venom is absolutely an asshole. He's only concerned about eating people's heads. Those characters can integrate within each other just fine. Sony doesn't know how to handle Spider-Man. They haven't been able to do it since 2004, with the sole exception of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which, because it was animated, probably had far less hands in that toolbox and allowed for Lord and Miller to make a movie much more their own than any of the live-action features ever have. I have no faith that Spider-Man in Sony's sole care is going to succeed, and I have no faith that this Venom could integrate into the world of the MCU as we've seen. So this post-credits scene is a tease for something that should not be, and also is the most disjointed post-credits scene that we've had since, like, Age of Ultron. The Thanos scene, like, fine, it's my turn, and then he grabs the glove, has nothing to do with that movie. I like Age of Ultron. It's a great movie. That is easily the worst scene of it, because it has fine, I'll do it myself, that's what he says. That's got nothing to do with anything in that movie. And so that's why it just feels out of place. And if you're a naysayer of that film, you can point a finger at it pretty firmly and say this scene should not be. And you're right. This moment here is exactly that. This is an advertisement for the fact that Tom Holland's going to fight Venom in a Sony movie. I'm done ranting about this shit. What did you think? The reviews of this are somehow better than the first movie, but the general public somehow liked the first movie, and I don't understand that. I wasn't as hard on it as I am on this one, but this is no improvement that I see. Andy Serkis is not a particularly gifted filmmaker, as far as I can tell. He is a tremendous actor, one of the best actors I honestly think we have around, and I think the only reason he got this job is because Sony's obsessed with making a really dark-looking Spider-Man universe, and they saw his Mowgli movie, and they were like, well, it looks like he knows how to do dark things, and besides the whole first Venom movie is Venom just Golluming, why don't we just get Gollum to make it? And that's what happened. Yeah, I hate it. I hate this movie. It's a half star. This is the worst movie of 2021 so far, and I hope that that maintains to be the case. If there is a worse movie than this that happens to me after this point, well, that is very disappointing. Anyway, my rant is over. Drop down in the comments below what you thought of either of the previous Venom. Am I wrong? I've been listening to the general public who have seen this movie, and they haven't responded particularly well, liking the first one more, which, geez, me too, I guess. Wow. Realization. Yeah. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Peace.